Hello, my beautiful friend. It's Betsy Gutting. Welcome back to my channel. Let's talk about the turning point energy that we're in. The spring equinox, the sun having just gone into Aries. We're on the precipice of a brand new beginning, but we're not quite there yet. And I'm going to explain why in a moment. I want to offer you some tips, some insights, and some encouragement on navigating this time that we're in. So be sure you stay tuned till the end of the video because I'm going to do a tarot card reading. As we get toward the end, that's when the magic really comes through the cards. And if you're new to me, hello, welcome to my channel. I am an intuitive life coach and a psychic astrologer, and I love helping to connect you to your gifts, your talents, your strengths, your life purpose, whatever is calling to your heart right now. So if you'd like a personal astrology consultation, or you'd like to do a deep dive into soul alchemy coaching and go to cause a breakthrough and transformation, a whole new chapter of your life, then definitely go and check out my offerings on my website, and I will leave the links below to that. I also have a gift for you. It's a free gift, so make sure you stay till the end of the video to get your free gift. Okay, let's get into it. We're just coming off of the Virgo full moon energy. I'm very curious, how was it for you? Was it intense? I know you're probably still navigating this energy. The spring equinox just happened March 20th, Sunday, when this video is going live, and the sun has just gone into Aries. So we have some real shifts in energy there that I want to talk about. Let's talk about that first. Okay, the spring equinox, first of all. This is a time we're all familiar with what spring feels like. And I want to say that if you are one of my southern hemisphere friends, you of course are going through the fall equinox. But regardless of which hemisphere you're in, there is a deep soul shift that goes on when we have a change of seasons. We're all going through a seasonal change. And this is when there is a death and rebirth process. Something is dying, something is leaving us. And I don't mean a physical death, of course, I mean an ego death. I mean a death of an old way of being, a pattern that we've had, a way that we've orchestrated our lives, that we've done our relationships. It's different for everyone. But we are all going through a deep soul stirring within, a transformational process, as always happens during a change of seasons. Now, of course, the spring is a time of the spark of new life. It's like our life force comes alive again. We see it in the trees blooming. We see it in the crocuses coming up through the soil. We feel it, spring fever. We're all familiar with what spring fever is like. And I can tell you, I got spring fever pretty bad right now. And that's a good thing, right? Because there's a spirit of adventure that is just calling to us. Our souls are here to have adventures. Our souls are here to have new experiences. We didn't come into these bodies. We didn't take these big, massive soul energies that we all have and put them in these relatively little bodies for no reason. We came here to experience life in a body. And so spring is such a time, a beautiful time of celebration. Now, the sun has gone into Aries. Aries is a fire sign. Aries has the archetype of the pioneer, the leader. It's a courageous energy, and the sun is at home in Aries. So this is great news. Aries get this burst of inspiration. This is when we can all get new inspiration. We can all receive a download that is very much real world, go do this. It's what Julia Cameron in her book, The Artist's Way, calls marching orders, where you get marching orders from the divine, from your soul, from your higher self, to take a step, to follow a certain thing. It literally is the heart's true calling. And by the way, if you haven't checked out my book yet, I wrote it for this time. I wrote it for your heart's true calling. It's called The Magic of Saying Yes, Answering Your Heart's True Calling. I'll leave the link below so you can check it out. But this is a time when we are all it's a time for us to really be listening to what is calling us right now, to what is our soul wanting to give us for new marching orders, for a new direction. This is such great news that we have the equinox and the sun having moved into Aries, because we need this fire. The fire is what gets us going, right? It's being lit in the solar plexus, where it's our center of power, where we're saying, I'm going to take action. I'm going to do this thing. So this is really good news. Now, at the same time, however, we have an inner death process going on. We can't possibly have a rebirth. You can't have the rebirth of spring without the death of winter. We're leaving winter, we're going into spring, but that inner death of an old way of being, of an old aspect of ourselves, is happening at the same time. And so I feel that between now and probably the beginning of April, we are going to be going through this process where you may feel really pulled in two directions. You may be feeling like, I want to take action. I want to do this thing. It's time for something new. It's time to make new plans. You may want to plan a trip, or you may want to start a new educational program, or you may be ready to quit your job or to start a new business. But at the same time, you might be feeling some resistance. And what that resistance is often is this death process that still needs to happen. It's often where we need to become very clear on what our fears are about moving into the new chapter of our lives. Now, this is really the new year. Astrologically, Aries begins the new year. So this is not just, moving into another month, or even just another season. This is literally the first degrees of the brand new astrological year. We have just finished a whole turn around the zodiac. We have done a full astrological year, and now we are being rebirthed. However, we also have still 3 planets in Pisces. Jupiter, Neptune, and Mercury are all in Pisces. Pisces is about endings. Pisces is where we wrap things up. Pisces is where we die to our old life. I love the quote by Joseph Campbell, and this is going to be paraphrased, but Joseph Campbell says, and he's, of course, like the guru of the hero's journey. He says, we must be willing to let go of the life we planned in order to have the life that's waiting for us. We must be willing to let go of the life we planned in order to have the life that's waiting for us. And that is so difficult for the vast majority of us. The vast majority of us, and especially in Pisces energy. We're really in Pisces energy right now. So I want to encourage you to give yourself lots of compassion. If you're tired, if you're exhausted, if you just want to rest. This is actually the next 10 days or so, 2 weeks, 10 days is actually a beautiful time for resting, for restoration, for renewal. As I said in my Virgo full moon video, it's a time of regeneration. In Pisces, we kind of need to have a little bit of floating time. We need to have a little bit of time where we can tune into our soul, because Pisces energy does that, helps us with that, supports us with that really beautifully. And if we're not tuned into our soul, we're not going to get that fire in our bellies to move forward on something. We're not going to feel that. We're not going to feel that, what I call that just know feeling. That just know, I just know that I have to do this. I just know that even though I'm terrified to do this, I'm going to do it. We want to feel that feeling before we take the steps. So it's actually a really good thing that we have all these planets in Pisces and that we are being ushered through this period, this kind of tunnel of, I don't even want to call it a tunnel. It's more like the ocean. It's more like we're floating on the ocean, and we're being graced, actually. And grace is such a great Pisces word. We're being graced with some open space and time to let ourselves release. Now, because we just had the Virgo full moon energy, Virgo energy kind of pushes us and pokes at us and prods us to get things done. So you could feel like I really have to take care of some things that I have put off. I have procrastinated, and I'm going to raise my hand to this big time. You might be feeling I've procrastinated on some things, and I finally feel like I'm ready to take action. In fact, you may have already done this. You may have already done this like right before or during the full moon itself. Made some phone calls that you've been putting off, or made some decisions or some choices that you had been kind of stalling, resisting making. And I want to tell you what that's about, because this is really important. A lot of us have been procrastinating and putting things off. Why? Because we've been moving through some fears that we had to get through in order to take action on those things. And I'll give you just a quick example and you might be able to relate. So for me, it had to do with my dentist. So I was in between dentists. I had a specific dentist. He sold his practice to someone else. I found another dentist. We never really quite connected. And so I was looking for a new dentist. However, in the meantime, I broke a tooth. And if you have ever broken a tooth, I love the phrase that I found on some website that said, losing a tooth is like losing a best friend, because that's how I felt. It was like, oh my God, I can't believe I lost a tooth. It made me so sad. However, I'm in the process of having it all restored and all of that. And I needed I needed to choose a new dentist for that process, right? But because I had a bad experience with my last dentist, I had trust issues that I had to work with and work through. And because I didn't know how would I find another dentist I would trust? That was my thing. And so I had to do some tapping. For those of you who tapping is amazing. I had to do some tapping on it, and I had to do some journaling through it. And I got to the point where I was like, okay, now I'm ready to find a new dentist. Now I'm finally ready. And I spent a couple of hours going through the process of, looking for which dentists were on my contract, blah, blah, blah. Did it, took care of it. I have a new dentist now. We'll see. I haven't met this dentist yet, but when I meet him, if I like him, great. And if I don't, I trust myself now to make the right decision for me. I trust myself now to ask my dentist the right questions so that I don't end up in a situation again where I feel like I gave away my power, where I didn't respond to the little red flags that we get when something isn't quite a fit for us. I'm not going to do that again. And so I think a lot of us, if you feel like there are things that you need to get to or that you've been doing lately that you've had put off, but you're taking care of them now, this is really good news. This is very strengthening for our self-esteem, for our soul esteem. Right now, this Virgo energy that we just had with the moon that we're still feeling, this is saying, take care of yourself. Do the things that you need to do, especially for your body, but not just that, anything that's essential in your life, anything that has to do with your everyday routines, your nutrition, your body, your health, holistically your health on all levels, your mental health, your emotional health. That could be working with a coach for you. It could be getting support spiritually. It could be a lot of different things. It's different for all of us. And make sure you watch the Virgo full moon video if you're wondering which area of life that happened in and how it's corresponds to your life. But what I want to say is, bravo if you are starting to take steps or you've already taken some steps to get some things done that you need to do. And I know that may seem a little bit contradictory to what I'm talking about with Pisces energy of just floating out on the ocean. Those are very different things. So I want to acknowledge that. But both are going on right now. Both, we need to take breaks. We need periods of rest. This would actually be a great time to get away for a few days. And we need to be making our lists, crossing off the things that we've been putting off and doing those things both. We also have had Pluto in Capricorn for quite some time. Pluto has been in Capricorn since 2008, my friends, 2008. You can do the math. How many years is that? That is like 14 years. That's a really long time. Pluto moves very slowly, but everything we experienced in 2020 and beyond, the last couple of years, was triggered by Pluto in Capricorn. Conjunct Saturn, that's a whole other video. My point is, we are now in the last degrees of Pluto, and Pluto is deconstruction. Pluto comes in with the bulldozer, it upends life, it takes away what's no longer serving us. It is a death process. It's very much of a death rebirth process. And Pluto in Capricorn has us face our codependencies specifically. It has us face our authority issues, wherever we have fears of authority, wherever we kind of skirt and we're not in our power. Pluto's all about being in our personal power. So in the last degrees, it's at 28 degrees right now. And just around the full moon in Virgo, it moved into 28 degrees. It will go to 29 degrees, and then it's going to go into Aquarius, and then it's going to retrograde back and forth. But what's important to know is that when Pluto gets to the last degrees of a sign, as it is now, we feel it even more intensely. And we've actually been through, we've done a lot of clearing. We've done a lot of evolving. We've done most of our lives have changed significantly through the whole pandemic stuff. And there's some reconstruction going on right now. There's a new foundation that we're building. We also have the North Node in Taurus, and North Node in Taurus says, it's time to build anew. It's time to upgrade your life in a material way, in a physical way, in a tangible way. So we are all, while these other things are going on, we are all in this process of trying to stabilize our lives, trying to create new stability. We just had the Pluto bulldozer come through, and now we want to create new stability. There's a strengthening that has gone on with Pluto in Capricorn, and each and every one of us, you have grown stronger for having been willing to look at, and still looking at for some of us, where we are codependent, where we are not. And I don't mean like necessarily full force codependent. It could be something very subtle. It could be like, well, I don't ask my landlord to do things for me, to like fix things in my apartment, because when I do, he gets frustrated and I don't want him to, I want him to renew my lease. And so I'm not going to ask him for stuff. Instead of facing our fears of what would happen if I lost my lease, and how can I be in my full power when I'm dealing with my landlord? That's just one example. So because Pluto's in Capricorn at the end degrees, because we have Pisces, several planets still in Pisces, and because we are on the verge of the rebirth process, but we're not quite there, we are going through this deep soul shift, this deep death and rebirth process. And I want to give you an example of, I'm going to tell you a quick story about what this might be like for you. So hopefully you can relate and it will support you. So in 2003, I went through a deep spiritual awakening. I went through a massive spiritual awakening to the point where I literally woke up to the fact in my life that like, I'm here to be something more than I thought. Like there is something more. I was searching for something more. I was seeking, I was doing all kinds of classes and reading books and soul searching and all of that. And I woke up to the fact that I was here to be the presence of love. And I know that sounds very abstract, but for me, it was so mind-blowing. It's not even something I can put words to. It's literally a visceral feeling in my body. And in that process of awakening to that, I realized that my marriage had really died, like a slow death. I'd been with my husband for 22 years and it had just like been dying for some time, and I wasn't paying attention. And neither was he, neither of us were. But I went to a psychic, and the psychic just to find out, what did she see? It was the very first psychic I ever went to in my life. And she said, Betsy, you are suffocating. You are suffocating in your marriage. marriage. You need adventure. You need like new experiences. You need travel. And the truth is, we hadn't had very many adventures in our marriage for a really long time because at this point we had completely different values. And I realized I needed it, and I needed to stand up for myself. I needed to claim it for myself. I needed to say, this is what I'm doing. I'm doing this thing because I need it. And so I did. So I told my husband, I'm taking a road trip. You're invited. I would love for you to come. We had our two daughters, and I said, I want to bring the girls. I want you to come, but I want to do a road trip from Seattle to the Southwest, to, you know, Colorado, Utah, all those beautiful national parks, all those places with so much spirit, so much life, so much, you know, I was still going through this massive spiritual awakening at the time. And I just wanted to be in nature. I wanted to put that brown deserty dirt all over my body like I want. And that's what I did. As soon as I stepped foot into the Southwest, I was like, oh my God, this red sand, it's so luscious. Like I just wanted to experience it on every level. Well, my husband at the time said, I don't want to go on a road trip. I will meet you there. I'll meet you in Santa Fe, New Mexico, but I'm not going to do a road trip. Not interested. And that was fine. I took my daughter one way. I took the other daughter back. What I learned during that road trip was that my soul had already moved on from my marriage. I didn't know what was going on. I wanted to resuscitate the marriage. That's why I invited him to come. I was like, let's take a trip. Let's have an adventure. Let's go see new sights. But the truth was, my soul had already moved on. My ego, however, was not ready. My ego wasn't ready to make a decision. My ego was not comfortable with the fact that my marriage had ended. My ego certainly would never have admitted that I couldn't try and resuscitate it and that I couldn't do something to make it work. But I wasn't there yet. I didn't know. And so a lot of us may be going through this right now where you feel like something is on the horizon for you. You feel your soul stirring. You may even feel your heart opening up, and there could be something in your life that precipitated it, like an awakening, like a relationship ending or possibly ending, or a job, like you know, and you need to move on from a job or a career, or something, a home, a move for you. It could be something, anything different for all of us, but it often takes the ego, our human self, time to catch up to what our soul already knows. So I want you to know, if you are not quite there yet, give yourself the compassion, the space, some spaciousness to be where you are right now, to just receive from spirit. When I was on that road trip, I was reading a book called A Year to Live by Stephen Levine, A Year to Live, and I'll link the book below. And it was all about letting yourself die to your old life, your old self, letting your old self die and letting yourself open up to what your soul is trying to bring into you. And that book was so synchronistic that I happened to be reading that while I was on the road trip. It was super supportive of me. And then, of course, my book, I also go through the whole process of helping you to reconnect with your soul, to partner with your soul, to hear the messages from your soul so that you feel like you are supported, you're inspired, you're empowered, because I never would have taken that step to release my marriage. Ever in a zillion years would I have done that if I hadn't been so connected to my soul and so tethered to my soul that I heard so clearly, Betsy, it's time. It's time to take this step. You are safe. You're protected. It's time. Okay, so I'm going to pull a card for us, but first I want to say one last thing, which is that this is a time of receiving. This is a time of we are upgrading our ability to receive right now. How many of you, raise your hand, if receiving is challenging for you, if you feel like you overgive, if you feel like you're resentful, you know, at times because you're giving more, or discouraged because you give more than you're getting back. And this could be in a relationship, this could be in a business that you have, this could be at work, it could be in any area of your life. but how many of you feel, do you feel us speaking one-on-one together in the privacy of this connection? Do you feel that you want to receive more? You want to have the ability to open up to more abundance? Well, this is what this time is really especially for. This time between March 20th and early April is when we're really going to be doing that. And Neptune and Jupiter in Pisces are going to conjunct very closely, not exactly, but they're going to get very close March 31st, and then they're going to be exact April 9th. And I really feel this as a soul awakening time. Neptune, the higher octave of Venus, it's all about our connection to divine love. Jupiter, expansion. So expanding our connection to divine love. It reminds me of being in the desert. It reminds me of being at ARIES National Park. If you've ever been there, you've seen pictures. Oh my God. In Moab, at ARIES, where you just, you can hear a tiny little piece of sage drop to the ground because it is so quiet and it's so blissful and so peaceful. And I felt so soul connected there. And this is what we're going to have the opportunity to experience, this energy, I feel. End of March, early April, this Neptune-Jupiter conjunction in Pisces. So we are being primed, we're being prepared, we're being supported for a big soul awakening, a big shift into living our lives even more divinely, soully inspired. Soully inspired. I just made that word up, but you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's pull a card. What do the cards have to say for this time that we're in right now? And before I pull a card, there's one quote I want to read to you because this is really beautiful. So this is from a woman named Julia Stration. That's her, well, that is her Instagram account, Julia Stration. She's an illustrator and she does the most amazing illustrations. I will link to her Instagram as well. But she, on her recent one today, she had a surfer, a woman surfing, and literally at the crest of the wave, at the very tip of the wave, the precipice, and the quote that, and the words that she put with her illustration was, "There are places you haven't been to where you already belong." There are places you haven't been to where you already belong. Your soul is already there. Your future self is already there, pulling you forward. So you are being pulled into your destiny, my friend. Okay, what do the cards have to say? Six of Cups. Okay, I'm going to pull one more card to go with the Six of Cups. Okay, interesting. So we've got the Six of Cups and the Three of Wands. Six of Cups and the Three of Wands. And of course, Cups energy is water energy. It really aligns gorgeously with the Pisces energy that we're in right now. And Six energy, we're in 2022. That 2022 reduces to a 6, which is all about love, harmony, beauty. It's Venus. It's pleasure. It's ecstasy even. And if you look closely at this card, it's so interesting because I was just talking about being at the precipice of a wave, and here they are, like in the wave, and it looks like they're holding something that almost looks like a trophy or some well, they're actually on horses through the water. So this is truly a miracle kind of image, but it is a celebration. It's an accolade. It's a graduation. And I feel like we have just gone through a soul graduation. We are going through a soul graduation. When you go through a death and rebirth process, it is absolutely a graduation to the next level of your evolution, your soul's evolution, your soul growth, why you came here. So I really want to validate that. And that's what these cards are validating. With the Three of Wands, the Three of Wands is, first of all, threes are celebration, their healing, their communication, their full body self-expression. And Wands is fire. Wands is inspiration. And these are people who are like sitting around a campfire, and it's very primal. It's very primal energy as well. So I feel like this is saying, open up to the primal energy of your spirit, your soul, your heart. and know that there are things to celebrate. There's fire burning in your belly. There is new love even maybe on the horizon for you. There is our souls opening up. There's a heart opening, a heart awakening. There's new love coming through our hearts for ourselves and for others to share with others. This is beautiful, it's soothing, it's celebrational. So allow yourself to even maybe take small actions on this new spring fever that you're having, even if it's just doing small things that make you feel comforted, that make you feel like, yes, I'm moving forward. Great times, I said in my last video, for spring cleaning, for clearing out. We're preparing. This is a time of preparation as we open up to spring. And for those of you in the Southern Hemisphere, to fall. We're all going through a big soul shift. So I hope that this video has supported you. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what resonated with you, for you. And I thank you so much for your likes, for your shares, for your comments. I absolutely love your comments. I love connecting with you, and for your subscribe. Subscribe so you don't miss my next video. And as I said, I have a gift for you. The gift is a guided meditation, returning home to yourself, returning home to your heart. So go to my website, subscribe to my inspirational updates, and you will get your instant download, an instant download of a beautiful meditation, returning home to yourself, returning home to your heart. And I will be back next Sunday with a video on the Aries new moon, brand new beginnings. We're going to be in it then. We're going to have that fire lit under the belly, in our bellies. Mercury's going to be in Aries. We're going to be go time. So use this week, use this next week, this next 2 weeks, next 10 days to get some things done and to let yourself float on the ocean, to let the resistance move through you. And if you'd like support, I'm here for you. Check out my links on my website, and I will be back next Sunday, sending you all my love.